In an attempt to make videos that are more advertiser friendly, I decided I might need to start making content that's more, well, advertiser friendly. Anyhow, so in doing so, I was cruising down on Main Street looking on videos on the internet, and I got a video response to this channel called Girl Defined, right? And then I looked at it, and then I was introduced to the wormhole that is lots of people that have a disdain for Girl Defined. Now, for those of you who don't know, Girl Defined is a Christian-based channel where two girls, Bethany and her sister, I just for the life of me cannot remember Bethany's sister's name, but they basically are two women, and they're trying to do, as far as I can understand, their best to give women some sort of standard or ideal for being. And it is Christian based, and thus they base a lot of their opinions on the Bible or what they read and their interpretations of the Bible. Now, of course, if you've been a peruser of my channel, you realize that I have constantly talked about how women need some kind of standard. So you probably think that with me and Girl Defined, I probably would appreciate their content quite a bit. And you would be 100% absolutely right, I do. Thank God that there is some lady out there trying to say, hey, women, you should think critically about your actions, or you should have some type of standard or some type of moral foundation somewhere, or some type of definition for what it means to be a woman somewhere. For them, it's higher power, but for a lot of other women, they just don't have anything at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there is a video where the ladies at Girl Define actually ask people to define like what it means to be a girl or like what it means to be a woman, and most of the people actually struggle to even give them answers to that question. So yeah, I actually have no issues with Girl Defined. I like them quite a bit. I'm pretty sure I could probably find something I don't agree with them on, but that's just people in general. I'm pretty sure you're just not going to agree with everyone on everything or on anything and everything, right? But what really kind of befuddles me, actually it really doesn't befuddle me, it's actually something I've been talking about on my channel consistently, is the fact that there is a disdain for Girl Defined that exists on the internet. Like their videos get a hell of a lot more dislikes than they get likes, when if you actually consider anything that they're saying, you're probably going to agree with it most of the time.
Question number 5, how do you navigate being just friends with the guy when he is interested, but you are not? Now, we've both been in situations like that, and I think both of us would acknowledge that we could have done a lot more to deter his interest than we did, you know? And so I think that if you are in that situation, really take a look at your own heart, your own actions, and ask yourself, am I kind of leading him on or giving him attention because I kind of like the way that he's treating me, because I kind of like the special attention. I like when we go somewhere and he, decides to buy my coffee, whatever it is. Are you doing things that are giving him any sort of impression, any idea, any false hope that you are interested, just because you kind of don't want to lose that? I mean, we as girls know what that's like. When you're single and you like that attention, but if you are genuinely not interested and you do not see yourself being interested in any time in the long future, then I would encourage you to really think of him and really try to, honor him in that way by not giving him false hope. Really set up some boundaries for yourself. You don't have to tell him that unless he's asked specifically, if he's asked you to your face, like, I like you, and you're like, oh, tell him, like, no, I am sorry, I'm not interested. Be clear and kind, but then also let your actions follow that. Maybe give some distance, start hanging out with your girlfriends more. Don't go out in small groups just with him or one-on-one with him. Really bless him in the way by showing him you're not interested. In the long run, that will be a blessing to him.
The golden ratio is just one example of the extreme importance our culture places on outward beauty.
Yeah.
As regular, everyday girls, just like us and just like you, we see in our culture the value that they place on outward beauty. We see it everywhere we go. And as a result, we deep in our hearts, without even knowing it, really do start to believe that gorgeous girls really are worth more, that this certain standard, if we can only measure up to it, that we would be happier. We buy into this and believe that if only we were physically more attractive, then we truly would be worth more.
The confidence that you see in these pictures and the beauty that you see in these pictures isn't always what you get behind the scenes. So one thing I noticed as time went on, in order to get jobs, I had to be the prettiest girl. So if I was the prettiest girl, I would get the jobs. If a company didn't want me, it meant that they wanted someone else more. So without even realizing it, I honestly started basing a lot of my worth and value and my identity on whether I was pretty enough or not, and whether people wanted me. When people wanted me, I felt like I was worth something.
Yeah.
When they didn't, I felt like my worth went down. And that is one of the biggest lies in the industry. And another thing I noticed is that behind the scenes, all those happy smiling faces, all of these perfect lives that we see on TV and on the posters really aren't there. So many of the girls I knew were really insecure. They were struggling with basing their worth and their identity on their looks as well. And in fact, we've read a quote from a famous supermodel who actually said that in the modeling industry, the famous models that she knew were some of the most insecure women.
And I could spend all day and all night taking clips off their videos and like intersecting it in here, and I'm pretty sure most people would find it totally reasonable what they just said. The only thing they probably won't find reasonable is the fact that they think that there is a God. And you want to know something? Atheism on the internet is just really popular, and anyone who says anything about religion is probably going to get lambasted pretty quickly. And that's just kind of just the reality of the situation. It's, I mean, unless you're, not even then. It's just what it is, especially on YouTube. But I mean, I welcome the challenge. I'm not really afraid of any atheists or being upset about that. What really bothers me, though, are the quality of video responses that Bethany and her sister get, and the fact that they are incredibly lacking in any genuine counter-argument half of the time. Most people are almost next to never really considering what they're saying. More so, they're stuck on the fact that what they're based on saying is a belief in God, or that the standard of what it means to be a woman is something that comes from God, or whatever standard that they're talking about in particular comes from the Bible. There's no real consideration on why what they're saying is wrong or right. And the reason for that is actually quite simple. I mean, if you don't think that there's a God, then there's probably no credit into anything that you read from the Bible, so you can probably dismiss it all offhand. I assume that's the thought process most of these people are having. I could be wrong, but that just does kind of seem to be where it's coming from. Another point of where it's coming from oftentimes is a lot of atheists who especially become content creators oftentimes come from really restrictive religious households. And what happens is once they leave that, they become incredibly liberal in the opposite direction. They go from one extreme to the other. And thus now, because they're so liberal, they have a visceral disdain for any type of standard or any type of criticism for any type of behavior. Why? Because when they were growing up, all they ever got was that restrictive stranglehold on what they can and can't do. So they're basically projecting their disdain of that onto Christians in general. And oftentimes it's just unwarranted. It's just not necessary, and it just doesn't apply. And Girl Defined is a really good example of this. It seems like Girl Defined gets a lot of criticism and a lot of disdain and backlash only because they simply have a standard rather than what they're actually saying is being critiqued. And I'll give you a pretty good example of this. Now, this was a 30-minute video by The Right Opinion. Now, he actually wasn't really disagreeing with them, but there is a point that he was making that is really, I would say, reflective of how people are perceiving girl-defined solutions to their problems. In fact, or the problems that these young ladies are facing. So I'm going to play this example for you guys, and then I'm going to break down intellectually what Bethany and her sister didn't do then.
Hey guys, it's Kristen and Bethany here with Girl Defined Ministries, and this is video number 2 in our series, 4 Secrets to Brave and Bold Womanhood. Video number 2 is called The Power of Embracing God-Defined Womanhood.
Ah, right, yeah, I forgot. It's a channel about God.
Second truth that we came across is that Christ defines our worth. As women, we, just like we shared in the last video, we are always searching for, okay, what gives me worth? What gives me value? What gives me identity? And the verse that we discovered that has given us a lot of hope is Psalm 139, 13 through 14. You may know it. It says, for God, you created my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
I mean, here you have these girls who arguably outlined a very reverent problem within our society, and their solution is God.
So, the long and short of it is, Bethany and her sister, they're not like my channel. My channel, I have lots of very long videos, lots of different examples, lots of different stories, lots of different tangents of me trying to break down a concept at a meta level. Their content is short, easy to digest, the normal, 5, 6, 7 minute video that you pump out to people, right? So they don't ever really take the time to sit down and break down XYZ like in a lot of their videos. It's not that they never do it, it's just oftentimes that's not the case, which is a really, really easy video to respond to, which is why it's actually it's not unlike the bedroom feminist videos I used to respond to as well. But even then, those videos still ended up being like 20 minutes long, because I talk a lot. I go on to say this because, again, if you listen to what the Right Opinion said in his clip, he was saying that what Girl Defined is saying is the solution to all of your problems, the solution to X problem is God. That is not the case, okay? That's it. Saying the solution is God grammatically does not logically make any sort of sense in any statement. It doesn't. I honestly can't make heads or tails of what he's trying to say here, other than he's trying to say that they're trying to present the solution as something that doesn't exist or something. I don't really even know what his point is, but the long and short of it is, Girl Defined's solution to the problem that they laid upon, which is girls not having any sort of standard, any sort of self-esteem, or girls feeling like there's something wrong with them, girls feeling very insecure and feeling like there's a problem with them, even the popular models, is that having a belief in God, creating you as perfect as you're supposed to be, or at least God created you the way you are supposed to be, and God does not make mistakes, means that there's nothing wrong with you, logically speaking. And that is a direct solution to the problem. The direct solution to, I feel insecure, I feel like there's something wrong with me. And a lot of women feel this way, by the way. I'm talking, like, and I've said this. I said this so much on my channel, now that I think about it. A lot of women feel like there's some issue with them. And the reason why is because of how they judge themselves in relation to other women. Like, for example, what women typically do is they covet traits that they can't have. Like, if a woman has small breasts, she'll usually want, like, bigger boobs. Not necessarily, but, the women who are insecure about that, who have A cups, they would want something bigger. But you can't really increase your breast size without plastic surgery. Some women, this is actually pretty interesting. Some people know, like, some women who are really tall, they have a very tough time dating because men who are shorter than them are insecure and they feel like the women don't want to date them. It's not necessarily the case, but it happens. But a lot of tall women, if they want to be petite, they can't. Just if you're 5'11" as a woman and you're really thick person, you can't be small. You can't change your body composition to make you small. You might be skinny, but you can't become a short, petite, 5'4" girl. That's just can't be done. So you become insecure because what you covet is something that you can't have. But if you think that the Lord created you the way that you're supposed to be, and there's nothing wrong with you and you're perfectly fine, it is a direct solution to your problem. Now, of course, one would say that they don't believe that there is a God and they don't believe that the Lord is not a thing, and you cannot base your expectation on unbelief for something that's not real, something that don't real. And you want to know something? I get that. I do. Like, I get it. Like, if you don't think that there's a God, you probably don't think that this would be a reasonable solution to the problem. The only problem is, if you do think that there's a God, it is a perfect solution to the problem. So the argument then does not stand upon the quality of the advice that Bethany and her sister are giving out, but what stands to reason, that what the disdain comes from, is the fact that you don't think there's a God and your religious upbringing hurts your feelings, which I'm not trying to minimize, but I mean, that's the case, it hurts your feelings. And so you have a disdain for them without any real critical thought into what they're saying. What these women are ultimately saying is that you are perfectly fine the way you are. And there's no criticism of what they're actually saying. It's just the fact that they think that there's a God. Now, here's the thing, and I really get this about Girl Defined, right? Like Girl Defined's presentation is that really happy, upbeat type of Christian. Like the ones that just they just have no grit. And you guys know what grit is. It's that kind of authenticity that they've dealt with things, that they've encountered struggles in life. And you have these white Christians usually who are they just smile a lot, they're just happy, and they're just very radiant. And to the people who are miserable, to the people who are sad, they cannot jive with that. You know what I mean? Like it's very... a lot of people on the internet use the word cringe, and I understand what they mean when they say they're cringing, they're uncomfortable, because they're seeing a radiance and a happiness that they can't have. Now, people who have been abused, people who have been harmed or hurt, they cannot really deal with these type of emotions. They can't really deal with these type of happy-go-lucky people because they don't feel positive emotions. They've never seen it. They've never had it before. So it makes them uncomfortable because they don't know how to interact with people of that caliber. So it's almost like an admission of their depression. Oftentimes these people who are responding to Girl Defined are oftentimes very sad, are people dealing with depression. And the reason why they're cringing so badly is because, once again, they're not used to seeing happy, positive emotions. At least that's one reason why I can gather. Now, another reason I can gather as to why these people have such a disdain for Girl Defined is, I'm thinking, what's the best way to put this? Now, I've said this a lot, like, people do not like putting standards on women, right? Excuse me. You can say what you want for men, 6 ways of Sunday, but the moment you say a woman needs to be X, you get a firestorm, right? And I think the reason why is because people want to protect women to such an unnatural degree that also includes protecting them from their own, like, emotions, or protecting them from any sort of harm, mental or physical. Like, people really don't respect women's ability to think and women's ability to grow. So we treat women pretty much like children their entire lives. And I think this is another classic example of that. Whereas the moment anyone gives a standard for women, you're either lambasted, you're treated as if you're crazy, you're treated as if you're going to hurt them or if you're going to harm them. For example, let me there's this clip here at the end of the Right Opinions video where he talks about this comment right here. Now, the reason why this comment, I wanted to point this one out, is because of the fact that you will hear this about anything and everything. You will hear the comment that this is really harmful to girls about legitimately Barbie. Barbie is harmful to girls. What else is harmful to girls? Beachbody Positive is harmful to girls. What else is harmful to girls? And I probably like sit here and like really think about it critically. Any sort of Nash Greer's video. Let us never forget what happened to Nash Greer. Nash Greer's video where he talked about things that he found attractive in girls is harmful to girls. Any sort of standard, anything that says women should be X, Y, and Z is harmful to girls. So, Girl Defined is not really special in this regard. What's particularly special or interesting in this regard is the fact that the standards are harmful to the girls, not the behaviors that the standards are supposed to be counteracting. What does that mean? What's not harmful to girls is not clapping your ass cheeks on the gram. It's telling them that they shouldn't. What's harmful to girls is not collecting a bunch of beta orbiters and manipulating them and harming them. It's telling them they shouldn't. Because telling someone that they shouldn't do something is restrictive. It's not liberal, it's not laissez-faire, free, let people do what they want to do. And because these people have such a visceral reaction to rules and standards, because when they were growing up, that was battered and beaten into them, any sort of standard now becomes a bad thing without actually considering the logic or the reasonability or the wisdom that is found in them. Because here's the thing, no matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at it, we can't forget what happened to Bianca Devins. I'm certainly not going to forget what happened to Bianca Devins. Bianca Devins, I actually made a whole video about this actually, by the way, which you can check out somewhere in the card or in the description box below, is a woman that had, clearly, I say call her a woman, but she was 17 when she was killed, who had no moral framework. She was a manipulator. She had no moral guidance. She did not have a father in her life. She had no strong men. She had no moral foundation. She had no God, no love of the Lord to tell her that she was perfectly fine the way she was. She was very insecure and used the attention from other men to give her some sort of validation. This is what happens to a lot of women who don't have any strong moral foundation or any strong attention from positive men. They become hungry for attention. They can become very manipulative. And because they have no moral framework, because they have no moral standard, they are fine abusing and attacking and attaching and taking resources from all these other men. Now, what was the problem with Bianca? Bianca sought out these weak-willed, sometimes evil men because of her dark, depraved fantasies, because I believe she was molested. So that was never healed or addressed. She sought these dark men out, and what happens? She encounters one that ends up killing her. It's a little more complex than that, but I mean, the long and short of it is that's what occurred. The problem is, and this is why I really like Girl Defined, and why I think the criticisms for them is just fucking bullshit. Because no matter how you slice it, that happened. That's a real story that actually occurred to some young lady on the internet. And the fact of the matter is, there are lots of women, like Bianca also sold naked pictures of herself on the internet. There's no sexual exclusivity. She's prostituting herself at a young age. This is happening with a lot of young women who have no moral standards, who have no guidance, who have no one to tell them that's wrong, you shouldn't do it. And even if it's not that, you'll have these women have sex with lots of different men, or you'll have these women who have lots of different manipulative relationships with orbiters, never considering what they're doing to those men who are orbiting, or you'll have women ruin their self-esteem or ruin their perception of men by having a lot of different sex with guys who didn't care about them. Now, it's possible, and it really is, it's possible to meet the anomaly of a woman who can have 50 partners, and she can get married, and she'll be fine. That can happen. It can. Now, psychology is not an exact science. It's not 100% X is going to happen. You can find women who can sleep with 200 men, marry some guy, never think about other guys ever again. It can happen. It can. But it's very unlikely. It's very, very, very unlikely. And we can't operate on the fact of these anomalies. It'd just be absurd. So what you have to do is you have to take the world as it is generally sometimes and then adjust when you meet an individual that's an anomaly. So what that means is sexual promiscuity for a lot of ladies, for a lot of people in general actually, is not a very good thing. For men, they oftentimes end up not even caring about it after a while, so it just was a gigantic waste of time for them on their part. But for women, it ruins how they feel about themselves. Bethany and her sister coming out and saying that you should be sexually exclusive is a counteractive to that mindset that is causing these girls harm. That type of behavior, that is hurting them. And that's one reason why I like them so much. But that's another reason why I think that Bethany and her sister should not be lambasted simply because they are Christians. Because if you actually consider what they are saying and what they're thinking about, it is oftentimes very, very, very good advice. It really freaking is. Now, of course, I know some people, you're going to say this, you're going to say, BASSFZz, you are a Christian, so of course you would agree with them.
Duh.
I mean, that's how agreeing with people works. If you feel the same way about the world, then that's, you know, some people might say, well, Zus, you have a bias. Well, I mean, I agree with them. I don't consider it a bias if you want, but I have listened to what they've said, and I have had the same opinions I have postulated on my channel, so I would ipso facto. I don't, you know, that's not really a comment worth making, if I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, the truth, the long and short of it is, like, I agree with their idea of giving women some kind of standard, and I'm sure I could find something I disagree with them on, but I think that what they're doing is a good thing, and I'm probably going to spend a lot of time, I would say a lot of time, probably every now and again, probably making a response, standing response to Girl Defined, because I really want you guys to see what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, a lot of the time, the arguments against Girl Defined are not arguments against Girl Defined. They're not actually taking what these girls are saying into consideration and thinking about it. It is simply just mocking them for being either Christians or just for them being outlandish. But the moment you actually stop and consider their points, you're going to find that Girl Defined is saying a lot of shit that women need to hear. So, the next couple of videos, probably not, it's not going to be like a series, but I probably am going to be taking some long-winded videos and really looking at them and really addressing them. And I'll probably do the same exact thing on Twitch. I'll probably like go on Twitch and like live stream some like some video responses that I'll make to some of this stuff, or like real time, because I imagine that if I make the videos, they'll be really long, but like if I stream it, it'll be long, but it'll be like more akin to the format. So that's what I'll probably be working on in the future. So with that being said, I assume if you guys got something out today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and hit the like button, and shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.